Arash, essentially, how would you describe yourself? Because you have an interesting background, but you're doing something completely different now. You identify as essentially what kind of an Iranian-American?
What kind of an Iranian-American? Good one, I hope. You know, in terms of profession, if you mean, you know, I started working as an architect when I came to this country. I do music on the side. I used to, you know, it was the same thing when I was in Iran. I was an architect, and I did music on the side when I was in Iran. But lately, I've shifted towards writing for TV programs and things like that.
But in fact, you have one of the, probably, arguably, the more popular Iranian-American bands in the country, and you do tours internationally. When you're doing these tours, essentially, in recent weeks, has the election been a point of conversation for you and your band members, you and your fans? Does that affect you at all as a person here in the States?
Oh yeah, we've had a lot of discussions within the you know, the people in the band. We tend to disagree a lot on a lot of stuff, and you know, we usually joke around issues like this because, you know, our band is very political about Iran. Our lyrics are very socially and politically aware of what's happening inside Iran, but we've never, you know, touched on what's happening outside of Iran. As you know, elections is a big thing for Iranians. Everybody in the world is going to be affected by the election in the U.S. We do talk about it a lot. We do make arguments, and we try to convince each other to vote for, you know, certain candidate and everything. But it's you know, at the end of the day, it's like every other family, every other group of people working together. I think they all do the same thing. It's not any different.
I've heard statistics showing that polls show only 30% of the Iranian Americans who are citizens in the U.S., and it's the majority of us. 85% of us are citizens and could vote, and yet only 30 of us who can vote, 30% of us who can vote don't vote. Does that speak to you about our sort of political experience or politicization here in the States compared to how politicized we feel about Iran issues? Are we maybe a little more indifferent to our American lives?
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up. I think I was actually talking to a friend. She was telling me she's not going to vote because her vote doesn't count anyway, and she comes from Iran where, you know, they don't even count your vote. So that was a funny. Of course, that was a joke she was making, but I think a lot of Iranians live in states that already have been decided for. I mean, they're either in California or in East Coast, in states that are probably their voting doesn't affect the election that much. That's probably one of the reasons. The other reason is, I think a lot of these Iranians who become citizens here, they don't realize the responsibility that comes with this American citizenship in participating in elections in particular. And I think that's a very important thing that we have to. When somebody wants to become a citizen of the United States, should be trained that this is your right and you have to use it. And this is, you know, it's not just your right; it's something that a lot of people die for to make this country what it is. And you should go and vote to keep this democracy alive. So these are the things I think that affects the Iranians who don't go to vote. And you know, and it's not just Iranians; Americans probably don't vote that much either. And it's unfortunate.
What do you plan on doing? Have you already voted? I'm not sure if you are a citizen, but what's your plan for election night?
Yeah, I am a citizen, and I'm looking forward to vote. I went out to vote this morning, but the lines were too big. You know, it was too long of a line for my. I had to, you know, get some stuff and come back. I had to make a phone call, so I'm planning to leave the apartment right after I'm done with you and go to stay in the line and vote.
And do you mind if I ask, how do you hope, well, how will you vote, and essentially what will you be feeling if tomorrow the vote went in some other direction than what you wanted? Who are you voting for?
I'd rather not answer that. I think that's irrelevant because I think the fact that I'm allowed to vote and I can participate in this huge, you know, I think it's a wonderful thing. That's what matters. And if people vote against, you know, who I'm in favor of, that's totally fine, because that's what democracy is about, and we're gonna have to, you know, just look ahead and, you know, hope to improve the situation for the next 4 years. And I hope whoever comes to power realizes, you know, the responsibilities they have.